My son's girlfriend has a secret. I, female 55, have 3 sons, 32, 28, and 26. All of my sons are very successful young men and are on their own. My oldest and youngest were always very outgoing and were kind of party animals in high school and college. My middle focused on his grades and future from a young age. He moved out the youngest into his own home. Anyway, my middle had a very bad ex-girlfriend. Basically, they dated since 17 and she cheated on him several times. My son never left because he loved her, but eventually he realized she was a bad woman and left her. Only took 8 years. Anyway, my oldest got married at 29 and my youngest is engaged. They give my middle son a lot of crap because he is single, but I always say that his ex kind of messed up his sense of love and confidence. They don't understand what he went through. My husband agrees. 6 months ago, he started dating this new girl that we just met yesterday. I was happy to hear that he found someone. She is very educated and smart, according to him. They have similar personalities and interests. Considering my middle is kind of a nerd, that made me very happy to hear. Anyway, I wanted to meet her immediately. My son said that she is very shy and it would take her time. 6 months later, she told him that she is ready to meet us. So, Friday afternoon, my husband decides to grill. Everyone comes over. Then my son and his new girlfriend show up. This beautiful girl walks in holding his hand and standing behind him. He was right. She is very shy. We all introduce ourselves, and we will call her Sadie. Sadie was quiet, but said hi to everyone. She honestly associated the most with our dog that night. My sons go out and help their dad cook. My daughter-in-law goes out with my grandbaby, and soon-to-be daughter-in-law and her are best friends till they go out together. I ask if Sadie would like to help me finish the sides and chop some stuff. She says sure. I just ask how they met and typical conversations. Eventually, my middle son comes in and comes up behind her and pokes her booty. She gives him a really look and hits in the arm, and he grabs her and pick her up as they laugh. I say put her down, don't be so rough on her. My son just says okay, put her down, and goes back out. I said, sorry, 3 boys. Sometimes they are a little too rough, but he is harmless. She said, I know he is. I used to wrestle with my dad and brother growing up too. I said, your mom let her daughter wrestle her older brother and dad? She said, well, I used to be a boy, so I guess it was different, and giggled. I froze. I said, what? Her face went snow white and immediate tears rolled down her face. She said, he didn't tell you? I went, no. She said, I think I should leave. I am sorry. I grabbed her and said, no, stay here. I said, does my son know? She said, yes, he knows. She then said, I always bring it up on the first date, so if there are issues, we don't waste each other's time. To be honest, I am very surprised, but my son has never been so happy, so I dropped it. I honestly just couldn't believe it. I mean, you would never know. She is gorgeous. She asked if I thought of her differently. I said that you make my son happy, and as long as you treat him right, I won't care. She just said thank you. I called my son today because his dad wants to get to know her more and wants to go to dinner with just them and us. He said sure. I brought up our conversation, and he said he knows. He said that she is just really shy about it and doesn't talk about it at all. She just tries to run under the radar. He said that since you know we need to tell dad, but they discussed me kind of pre-telling my husband before tomorrow evening. Any idea on how? Or should I tell my son before we go that he and her are going to have to do it? Update. I took the advice and told my husband earlier than I had planned. I told him at noon when we were going to pick up my son. We will call Sam and Sadie at 6. The conversation basically was quick. I just told him I needed to tell him something, and he had to promise me not to be upset. He just said speak. I just said, Sadie is trans. He just went, okay. He said we'll talk later. I said something about dinner, and he just said we will talk later. I told Sam and told him I have his back. On the drive to Sam's place, I told my husband that Sam loves her and makes him happy. I explained it took a lot of courage from Sadie to be open with us right from the beginning. My husband just said we will talk later and said, I promise I will be on my best behavior. We go pick up Sam and Sadie. It was a nice restaurant, so my husband and Sam were in polos and dress pants. Sadie and I were in dresses. They looked so cute together when I saw them. They were matching and everything. We go to dinner and my husband is acting normal. just asking questions to Sam and Sadie about intentions, how they met, etc. After dinner, I give her a lot of credit. Sadie tried to bring it up with my husband. He just said, "Hold that thought. Let's go get ice cream." My husband is obsessed with ice cream. He will always find an excuse to get it. So, we go as he is just telling jokes to everyone in the car and acting a fool, as he always does. We get there and ask what everyone wants. My husband's favorite is chocolate. Mine is cookies and cream, Sam's strawberry, and Sadie's is butter pecan. I promise this matters. We get our ice cream, and after a few minutes my husband says, "It's weird how there are so many different types of ice cream. When I was a kid there was like 2 or 3. Now they have hundreds, it seems like." I was confused where my husband was going with this. He then said, "As long as the ice cream that you like tastes good to you and makes you happy, I don't mind forking out a few dollars for a smile." He then winked at Sam and Sadie. That was it. That was the discussion. We took them home, and he gave Sam and Sadie each a hug and told Sadie he hopes she can make it to more dinners on the weekends as we do them often. Sadie said that she will. My ex lied about vaccinating our daughter. Me and my ex split up before our daughter's birth. There were a variety of reasons for this that I won't get into here. One of them, though, was her anti-science beliefs. She's an anti-vaxxer and doesn't trust science or medicine at all. Well, this sucks because our daughter was born premature and immunocompromised. We have had 50-50 custody of her, but due to her condition and my wife's anti-science beliefs, we argue constantly on how to handle her. Well, recently our daughter has made incredible progress and last year was given the go-ahead to get vaccinated for certain viruses including chickenpox and the flu. My ex went crazy about this and started making my life a living hell, and threatened up and down to take me to court. Around this time, I also got a new job that paid a considerable amount more than my old job. When this happened, I decided I wanted to move my girl into a private school that has a program for immune-compromised children and offered to pay 100% of tuition. The only problem, for her at least, is that this school requires students to be fully vaccinated up to their medically allowed limit. My ex fought me up and down on this, and we ended up in court. The judge agreed with me and ordered my daughter to be vaccinated. My ex had a full breakdown, but in the end agreed only on the condition she get to take her to lessen the emotional damage and make sure the doctor doesn't poison her. I demanded the medical forms confirming this, and she agreed. So, my daughter finally got vaccinated and last fall started at her awesome new school. Well, last week my daughter got incredibly sick and had to be rushed to the hospital from school. She somehow had contracted varicella, chickenpox, despite being vaccinated for it. I have been stressed out from the minute I got the call and confused as how she got it. My daughter must have picked up on this and thought I was mad at her because when I was visiting her in the hospital, she decided to tell me the secret mommy promise to make her keep. Turns out my ex didn't vaccinate her. She made my daughter lie about it. Instead, she has been using special oils and salts to keep her from getting sick. What about the forms I got saying she was vaccinated? They're fake. I called the doctor, and it turns out she never went in, and he never signed any forms confirming she was vaccinated. So, my ex lied and faked forms to convince me she was vaccinated. I'm pissed to say the least. My daughter is in the hospital because my ex decided to let her beliefs come before our child's health. My ex doesn't know I know yet, and I told my daughter not to tell her. I want her gone now. How do I approach this to make sure my ex suffers for this? I have the form she handed me and texts from the day she took her. I also have the doctor on record saying he never signed off on these, and that the ones I have are forged. I'm planning on speaking to a lawyer, but I would like to know going in what to do. Update 1. Well, a lot has happened since that day. My daughter is safe with me and was let out of the hospital about a week ago. She is getting better every day. I know though, you guys want the full story, so here it is. After I made that post, I took the advice given to me, and the next time I saw my daughter I told her that it was wrong of me to ask her to keep secrets and that it's okay to tell her mom. Along with that, I saw a lawyer that was recommended to me by a trusted party. When I went to see him, he told me that this is a case lawyers salivate over and that my ex is in a lot of trouble. I immediately filed for emergency custody of my daughter. I also got into contact with the doctor again and explained the situation fully to him. He says that while he will not be getting lawyers involved, that he wishes for me to submit the evidence to the police and file a report. Along with this, my lawyer has gotten into contact with the court that originally ordered us to vaccinate our daughter and has handed over everything I gave to him. He has advised me to stay quiet on this matter, so I'll leave it at, my ex is in a lot of trouble with them. During this time, my ex started to get suspicious. Maybe it was because a friend told her about a post on Reddit and she freaked out? Who knows? A few days later, when I saw her at the hospital, we had an altercation. She became hysterical and yelled various threats and insults at me, including telling me that I want to poison our daughter right in front of our sick child. She was escorted out of the building, and the head nurse had banned her from coming back. After this, she sent me a barrage of texts telling me that I am a monster and that if she had vaccinated her, that she would be dead now. This was sent to my lawyer. As he puts it, she's what lawyers dream of when they hear who's on the other side of the court. Outside of this, I've been advised to stay as quiet as possible, so I'll leave it with this. This week I received emergency custody of my daughter until our custody hearing later this year. I have heard that the DA is slowly getting ready to move forward with a multitude of charges against my ex, and that will land her in jail soonish. Update 2. 3 years later. Hello again everyone out there. 3 years ago I made a post about how my ex lied about vaccinating our daughter. Soon after I gave an update and disappeared over the horizon. I had completely forgotten about making that post, as the last few years dealing with a global pandemic and an immunocompromised daughter have aged me 3 decades. Well, to give the short answer first, I have full custody of my daughter, and my ex is barred from having any contact with her. The long answer, my court battle between my ex and me was a grueling process, one of the worst periods of my life. It took over 5 months from the time I got emergency custody to get full custody of my daughter. In retrospect, those 5 months were not as long as they felt, but they felt like the longest months of my life at that point. My ex's harassment at that time got worse, even coming to my house and attempting to force herself in to take our daughter. She was arrested for this and charged with attempted forced entry. Before she could bail herself out, the DA decided to throw the book at her for forging medical documents. She ended up spending a month in jail for this, which unfortunately got our custody case continued. The upside of this was I was given a protective order for me and my daughter, one that bit her in the ass when we finally got in front of a judge. I was given full custody of my daughter. My ex and her lawyer pissed off the judge by trying to claim that I had planned this all from the start, forcing her into a corner to vaccinate our daughter so I could use her response to initiate the custody battle. Her actions, her upcoming hearing for committing felony forgery and forced entry, along with the protective order, convinced the judge that my ex was more than a danger to our daughter. She lost all custodial rights, and as of now is not legally allowed to contact her in any form. My protective order was extended by 2 years as well, but I didn't need it as it was only a few months later she went to prison. My ex pleaded out, they dropped the forced entry charge, and she only got 2 years in prison for the forgery but was still hit with the felony. She was released early due to COVID though. Since then, luckily, I have had no contact with my ex outside of getting the child support I am owed. I am not really inclined to keep tabs on her personal life, but I know that she went off the conspiracy deep end. She is now a full canon supporter and dating someone who was involved in the January 6th insurrection. Other than that, she has disappeared from my daughter's life entirely. As for me and my daughter, the past few years have been a living nightmare. We moved to a new state, and I had to put her into fully online schooling. But our lives are great. And, amazingly, my daughter was able to get the COVID vaccine only a month ago and is cleared to go to physical school once the summer ends. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest stories.